All right, folks, this is the weather model discussion behind the scenes here at Weather Tracker TV. William Cole here in the Storm Studio, and this is our inaugural version. We've been talking about doing some of these videos. These are going to be made for social media, YouTube, things like that. It's not going to feature any of our pretty TV graphics, none of the pretty animations. This is just going to be the raw data that we're going to be talking about. We're going to try and do one of these per day, and again, like I mentioned, today's the inaugural one, so we're really going to count on you folks out there to let us know, do you like these? Is it worth doing these? Is this a kind of additional information that you're looking for? So wherever you're seeing this, again, please let us know, is this beneficial? Is this something you'd want to watch? Typically these will be anywhere from about 5 to I think right around 8 minutes as we do these again on the daily. So without really further ado, I really want to jump into this just for the fact we can kind of save time here. But I want to start with the visible satellite review here across parts of the southern plains. It's another day here in North Texas where we have some scattered thunderstorms around, and we're quite in the metroplex. In fact, there was a small shower in western Dallas County. I was just looking at radar there moments ago. Of course, over the weekend we had the really tough weather move through Dallas County. A lot of folks lost power. We had some 60 to maybe even 70-mile-per-hour winds around the area. Nothing like that today, not really anticipating severe weather today, but again, you can see kind of what look like little puffy cotton balls there, and those are towering cumulus clouds going up again during the heating of the day. We don't necessarily have the jet stream involved here, and so this again, you're just kind of looking at the radar composite, and you can see a few isolated showers and thunderstorms out there. Again, obviously this is not our pretty radar. This is just coming from the Storm Prediction Center meso-analysis page. I like this page, but it just kind of gives you an overall look of what's going on. And again, this page we do use specifically here in the Storm Studio. But what I also want to do, I want to kind of broaden out the view, right? This is the other real important piece of putting together a forecast. In fact, this is typically where I like to start my day each and every day. It's with this page right here, and we're going to look at the 500 millibar analysis, right? This is what we kind of call the synoptic scale all across the nation, and it's basically showing us big areas of high pressure, what we call ridges, or we're looking for storm troughs. Storm troughs are typically what bring active weather to your area. Number one, the summer heat dome. You can see the big, what looks like a donut hole out on the west coast and parts of the Intermountain West. That's our summer heat dome here in North Texas that brought us just the stifling summer and all the dry conditions, right? So that's now retrograded, or it's backed up to the west, and again, it's baking the folks out in that part of the nation. But kind of on the front side of it, you can see those wind barbs where they're coming in from the north. This is what we call northwesterly flow here in North Texas. Little areas of disturbed weather can pinwheel around that area of high pressure directly down into North Texas, and that's why even through the weekend our pattern has just remained unsettled. We haven't had a major storm system move through, but we've had a weak boundary, we've had a little bit of lift, and that's why essentially we're just kind of getting those spotty daily summer variety thunderstorms. They go up, but as they come down they produce those wet microbursts, the gusty winds that again we've really been having to deal with recently. Okay, from there, what I want to do, I want to kind of broaden this out a little bit, and I want to talk about the tropics. Again, we're going to hone into our North Texas forecast momentarily. Here in Texas, folks are always plugged into the tropics. We did have our first hurricane of the season. This formed, I believe it was last Friday now. This is Danielle, and she's kind of been hanging out here in the northern Atlantic. She's gone from hurricane to tropical storm, back to hurricane status, and she's basically a non-player. She's just going to kind of meander through the northern Atlantic. Eventually, she may even head over towards Europe, not as a hurricane, but as a gale. So we did officially get a hurricane. It's only happened one time in modern history, 1914, that we did not have a hurricane. So we can at least mark that off the list. We had one hurricane, but again, as we all know, this season has been unusually quiet. We're also watching Earl, who's out here in the tropical Atlantic, just north of the Caribbean Sea, east of the Bahamas. And right now, a tropical storm most likely will become a hurricane either later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. But look at the cone of danger with him. He just basically veers off out into the open Atlantic, in fact almost out into the northern Atlantic, and he will also be a non-player. May affect some of the shipping lanes and things like that, but again, as far as interests go in the continental United States or even the Caribbean Sea, simply put, he's just going to be a non-player. So that is just absolutely great news. I'm switching over to the model, and again, I don't want to talk too fast here, but we really do want to keep these videos kind of short, and we're going to be going over a lot of information, right? So we're trying to do this in about 5 to 8 minutes. I just just want to stick with the tropics for one more second here, and we're now looking at a different chart. This is still the 500 millibar chart, right? Kind of middle level of the atmosphere, but we're also looking for areas of spin or vorticity, and in this situation, we're specifically looking for something tropical. So again, as we roll this through time, I'm using the European model. It's a global model. It goes out for 10 days. You can see Daniele to the north there. She kind of meanders around, goes away. There goes Earl. He basically speeds off to the north. He stays away from the continental United States. You can see him kind of getting sucked up into that storm trough coming off the northeast there. That's going to continue to pull him away. But then let's go back up in time. And let's go and take a look right off the coast of Africa. That's where the National Hurricane Center is also highlighting the opportunity of some potential development. Waves coming off the coast of Africa. This time of year is what we call our main development zone. You can see one wave comes up also into an area of high pressure, could form into something the way it looks right there. We have one wave, doesn't really do much. We have a secondary wave that is making the westerly track towards the Caribbean, potentially in about 7 or 8 days tries to form, and then we have an additional wave coming off the coast of Africa in about 10 days also trying to form as well. So there's no real detail with that, nothing really more we can tell you yet, but it's worth saying the tropics, we need to keep our eye on it, especially on those systems coming off the coast of Africa if they do make that westerly jaunt over towards the Caribbean. Time will tell with those, time will tell. Okay, so let's go and talk about our forecast now here quickly as well. And this is going to be a similar chart, still the 500 millibar chart, and we're still looking for areas of spin. Now here in North America, kind of the North American view here, we're not looking for hurricanes moving through the land, but we are looking for storm troughs or areas of spin that could bring active weather to our region. And we're also watching that big summer heat dome out there to the west. You can see the summer heat dome, not a lot happens with it. It stays fairly strong, but notice here by about this upcoming Saturday and Sunday, you can see the big storm trough, the big dip in the jet stream that begins to build down into the southern plains. As it turns out, that's going to be a decent cold front. In fact, it's looking a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. And even here in North Texas, by this upcoming Monday, we may be talking about highs in the mid-80s, not completely locked in. You can see that big storm system continues to pull off to the east, and behind it, there's one more mini dip that comes through, just kind of a shortwave trough. That may kind of bring an additional continental front, not a lot of air mass change with it. So now what we also need to look at here, number one, let's go and take a look at the 850 millibar chart. This will show temperatures just above the surface, but for change of air mass, this does a really good job in the fall showing the strength or the potential strength of any cold front, right? And again, we're still not talking about any blast of cold air this time of year, right? None of that happening, but who could see some less hot temperatures? Here comes front number one, and again, the latest run here, the afternoon run of the European model, a little more bullish. Take a look at eastern Oklahoma all the way up into the Ozark Plateau, into the Corn Belt. There's green showing up. Those are definitely less hot temperatures. That front kind of stalls in North Texas and Central Texas, but we should get some less hot temperatures with that. But again, after that, you can see temperatures really build back in. Here comes that next kind of mini shortwave trough moving through as well. But again, the main front with that appears to get kind of hung up to our north. The flip side of this, are we going to get any precipitation with this? The atmosphere looks relatively dry. Here's future rainfall. And again, I'm going to kind of speed this forward in time to the fronts. And again, you can see by this upcoming Saturday into Sunday, rain and storms up in Oklahoma. Looks like we're going to have what we call dry frontal passage. It's not impossible. I wouldn't bet 100% on that yet. In fact, I've got a 20% opportunity on my 12-day, just for the fact when you get these change of air mass fronts coming through this time of year, especially in North Texas where we do have access to Gulf of Mexico moisture fairly typically, we typically can get some rain and storms. So I wouldn't bet the barn quite yet that it's going to come through completely dry. But again, outside of that, it appears as though it is a very dry forecast. In fact, future rainfall, again, just based off the European model here, future rainfall over the next 10 days, this will just be a running total. You can see North Texas basically dry. Again, I would not completely bet the barn on that quite yet. What I want to do, and again, like I said, I'm not trying to do this too fast, but we want to keep these kind of within a time constraint, is I want to come over to the short range model. So we've gone from a global model where the resolution is not that great, right? Because that model is forecasting for Antarctica, literally the same as it's forecasting for North Texas. So now we've switched over to what we call the rapid refresh model, or the HER model, and this is essentially only forecasting for the continental United States. This is a high-res model. This is one of them you'll see on our future radar, even on TV. We use this one, and there's one other one that I like as well. But as we roll this into motion, this goes out for about 48 hours. There's the pop-up activity today. Again, you can see mostly quiet tonight. Could be a few thunderstorms up around Paris overnight coming out of Oklahoma. I've got a 30% shot up there tonight. And then you can see as we get into tomorrow, mainly our southern, southeastern counties, a few late day pop-up showers and thunderstorms may be possible there as well. But again, outside of that, generally speaking, again, looks pretty dry around our area. So compared to the really active pattern that we've been in, the pattern gets a little bit quieter the way it appears going forward. But I want to put some numbers to what we were just talking about. And first of all, this is going to be the European. This is what the European data is showing. What we just looked at, you can see by this upcoming Monday, the European is at least advertising for DFW a high right around 85. So again, for this time of year, that would be a decent little, again, you hate to use the term cold front. Technically, it's a cold front, but kind of a cool front, if you will, in this situation. Outside of that, temperature is basically at or above normal. That's what the European is showing. Now, what I forecast off of, this is what we call the blend of models. It takes the European data, but it takes all the other models out there as well. It blends all of it together, and with everything blended together, again, you can see this upcoming Monday, the blend of models not quite as bullish on that front, still forecasting a daytime high right around 89. Now, the one thing I can tell you, based off that European data, my forecast for Monday is a little bit less hot. In fact, I'm going right around 86. So I kind of like to compare those two, and depending on the setup or what's going on, I can trend just a little bit towards the European model. But otherwise, there you go. Highs basically 91, 92, 93. Outside of that upcoming Monday, the way it looks right now, overnight lows getting a little bit closer to 70 on the nose. So like I said, we'll continue to kind of refine the format of this video. This is the first one we're doing, kind of the behind the scenes of what we're looking at here, trying to keep it within a certain time strength, but I think we've gone almost 12 minutes here, so we didn't do a very good job on that. Like I said, we'll try and make these a little bit shorter if possible. Let us know if you like these. Again, not replacing anything we're doing on TV. Pretty TV maps still available there. Again, this is just kind of the raw behind the scenes data. Again, let us know what you think. Otherwise, thanks for watching again here on YouTube or any other social media platform, and again, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.